Okay, so today we're going to discuss the creditors reconciliation. This is the information extracted from November 2018 paper, question 2. We are given a creditor's ledger together with the statement from the supplier. Now, one thing that you need to note is that with the creditor's ledger, entries that appear on the credit side will appear on the debit side from the statement prepared by the supplier. Why? Remember, this is a business. This is the ledger prepared by the business. A creditor's control account is a liability account. It increases on the credit side. It decreases on the debit side. But now with the supplier, remember the business is a debtor to its supplier. So debtors control increase on the debit side and decrease on the credit side. For example, this is an invoice. What is an invoice? Goods taken on credit. So an invoice was issued to the business. It shows how much you owe. But now this invoice here, it's recorded on the credit side as 81,000. But when you go to the supplier's statement, it's recorded as on the debit side, same amount. Why? Because remember, the business is a debtor to its supplier, but a supplier is a creditor to the business. So all the entries on this side will appear on this side on the statement prepared by the supplier. Okay. Now let's look at information A. It says the incorrect entry for debit note in the creditor's ledger account of Marigi suppliers relates to the correct credit note 741 on the statement. So this credit note of 741 is correct as per the statement, but incorrect as per the ledger. So an error was made on the ledger. So what is the difference between 864 and 6840? It's 1,800. Please press on your calculator 8640 minus 6840. The difference should be 1,800. Okay, so now that we know that an error was made on the ledger, are we going to add or subtract? Now, let's discuss this. A debit note in the creditor's ledger, it means we have returned goods to the supplier. So our account needs to be debited. It means it needs to be decreased. So when you overstate returns, it means that you are decreasing the amount that you're supposed to pay. So we have overstated a return by 1.8. So we need to add back this 1.8 because now it means that we're saying we shouldn't pay 8,640 because we returned goods to the supplier. But the supplier says to us, no, guys, you return goods worth 6,840. So please reverse the 1.8 because your account is overstated by a return. So we need to add this 1,800. So it will be plus 1,800. Any question?
No question.
Okay, thank you very much. So this is a positive. Now let's look at information B. Invoice 282 was incorrectly reflected in the account of Marigi suppliers in the creditor's ledger. The goods were purchased from. So again, an error was made in the ledger. Which invoice are they referring to? Invoice 282. You see invoice 282, it only appears here, but not here. So these are the goods bought from another supplier. So we need to exclude the two. How much is it? Let me check. 282, 40,950. So we need to exclude 40,950 because these goods do not belong to Marigi suppliers, but it's another supplier. So we have overstated our balance, our account with Marigi by 40,950. Any question?
No question.
Okay. Now let's look at number C. Invoice 360 was incorrectly recorded on the statement from Marigi suppliers. Now let's look at invoice 360. It's 20,250. We recorded as 50,250. So they have understated the money that we owe. So we need to make an entry by adding 30,250 because that's the difference between 50,250 and 20,250. So we're gonna add here 30,250. We owing them 50,250, but they have recorded this invoice as 20,250. So they need to add 30,250. Okay, so if it's like this, it's positive. Any question, please?
Can you please repeat the adjustment?
Okay, let me repeat again. So invoice, it appears on the credit side as 50,250. This is the amount of goods we took on credit from Marigi suppliers. But Marigi suppliers recorded that invoice as 20,250. So they have understated the invoice. So now they need to add the difference. They need to add 30,250 because they recorded less amount. I hope you are answered.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's look at D. Marigi suppliers also purchased goods from Clear Traders. Clear Traders has transferred a debit balance from the debtor's ledger. Journal voucher 570. Marigi suppliers will offset this on the next statement. Okay, so now we need to deduct this 570 because they bought goods from us on credit. So now, instead of recording this 5,400 as the money that is owed to us, we're gonna offset this against their statement. So we're gonna minus because they are owing us 5,400. They took goods on credit from us. So it's more like saying, Natasha, you are owing me 30,000. Okay, Natasha owes me 30,000. Then I come to your business and buy goods on credit worth 10,000. So what is it that you're gonna do? You're gonna say, no, sir, I'm not gonna pay you the full 30,000 because you owe me 10,000. So the amount that I'm owing you, it's actually 20,000. So that's the meaning of offset. So if they say offset against, it means that whatever amount that you are owing will be deducted by that amount that your supplier took goods for. So they took goods for 5,400. So now this 5,400 should be deducted. As you can see here on the 27th, it was deducted, but no entry was made here. So that's why we are making an entry on the debit side of the ledger. Sorry, the credit side here. So this entry should be on the credit side here, because remember, this is a debtor's control. This is a debtor's ledger account. So we're not gonna pay 5.4 because they took goods on credit from us. Any question?
No questions.
Okay, let's look at number E. The transaction of 24 July is for merchandise returned to Mariji suppliers. Where is 24 July? Okay. So if you check here, it's recorded correctly. Because if we return goods to our supplier, the supplier will record on the credit side. Remember, we are a debtor to our supplier. When we take goods, debit side, but when we return goods or when we pay, credit side. So it's recorded correctly here, but if you look here, it's recorded on the wrong side. It's supposed to be recorded on the debit side. Remember the opposite reflection. Any debit should be on the credit. Any debit here should be, any credit here should be on the debit here. So instead of recording this 8,100 on the debit side, the business recorded on the credit side. So it appears like we are owing the supplier and we're not. So how do we deal with the posting of error? So if an entry was posted on the wrong side, you multiply that amount by 2. So this is 8.1. It was recorded on the debit side. Sorry, it was recorded on the wrong side, which is credit side. So you need to do a double subtraction. So it will be 8.1 times 2. So 16,200 should be subtracted by the business. 16,200 should be subtracted. If an entry was recorded on the wrong side, you multiply that amount. 8.1 was supposed to be on the debit side, but it was recorded on the credit side by the business. So we multiply 8.1 by 2. Any question? Natasha, are you still fine?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's look at the last one. Number F. The statement reflects transaction up until 25 July. The statement, it reflects transaction up until 25 July. But now when you look here, it's up until 31 July, but this one it's up until 25 July. Okay, so it means this payment was not recorded at all. So I think they've made a mistake here, not 25, but until 24. Yes, up until 24 July. Because if you check here, it's up until 24 July. But this payment made by the business was not recorded. This 77,000 was not recorded on this statement. So because it's a payment, we're going to say minus 77,119. So the supplier did not take note of this payment, did not record this 77,190. Now we need to add our totals and see if we're gonna have a corresponding amount. Please, Natasha, help me calculate the totals from both sides. Let's start with the debit side. How much do you get on the debit side? Let's start with the debit side.
I got 92,470.
92,470. On the credit side, how much did you get?
I'm still calculating, sir.
Okay.
Ah, 92,720.
92,000, how much? Come again, Natasha, you got how much here?
Let me calculate it again. 14,560 plus. $92,720.
92,720 and not 92,470.
No.
Okay, let me check on my side. Okay, this is supposed to be 30,000 because remember, 50,250 minus 20,250, it's 30,000. So we have made an error here. It's supposed to be 30,000. So add again.
$92,470.
Excellent. 92,470. Any question?
No questions, sir.